You notice it before you even admit it. A face where there shouldn't be one. A number that repeats. A lyric that lands too perfectly. The official story calls it Apophenia. A bias, a brain glitch. But you know what? I don't buy it. I will propose to you and treat it like a spark of dialogue. Your consciousness proposing a pattern where the environment actually answers. And together, you negotiate meaning. No smells, no shortcuts, just a practice you can test in the real world. By the end of this episode, I will propose to you that Apophenia isn't just a brain glitch, a cognitive reasoning to explain, to understand, but more an idea, a hypothesis. Is that a word? I propose that is actually the world or of the environment, or that face you see in the moon is trying to talk back to you, all in line with quantum entanglement. That's where we're going. Let's go. Well, hello. Hi. Hello. Hey. Do I have a thing for that? Oh, I'm pretty sure I do. Oh, yes, I do. Hello and welcome to the Tequila Hour. My name is Amanda. It is Sunday, so I'm recording it on a Sunday. I will give a bit of an admin in regards to what's happening at the moment because guess what? I'm not releasing this podcast on a Sunday, but for all intensive purposes, it is Sunday today. Truthfully, it is 4:20 in the afternoon here in Australia, in New South Wales, in the you-know-what motherfucking secret location. It's not a secret. And yeah, I'm bringing a really interesting topic today to you where I will give a background as to how I came to this topic of discussion today. But first, let's not get carried away. You know what we need to do. We do need to do, and I'm trying to find a smash pad. Some motherfucking admin. Let's go. No. That's not it. Let's try this. Yeah, that's right. This is the Tequila Hour. My name is Amanda. I am in Australia. I am Australian. And that's the end of the podcast. No, just joking. Yeah, it's admin time, and this is a place where I just do a quick recap, some highlights of the week, and then I'll get into the discussion, the topic of discussion today, which is actually Apophenia, and I'll explain how I got to this particular discussion, which is actually very fascinating to me and kind of makes a lot of sense. To you might be like, Amanda, have you lost your mind? And I would propose or explore or say to you, how about you expand? How about you sit and resonate on what I'm proposing today and think about it for perhaps more than 5 seconds and, yeah, let the thoughts come in and go out and then see if you actually agree with what I actually propose today, because what I'm proposing, to my understanding, has never been proposed before. So It's out there. Like Spock, we ride together. But first, let's do some admin. Firstly, what am I drinking today? Oh, no, you'd be like, Amanda, who cares? It's important. If you like to play along on this podcast, then you would understand that having a drink and relaxing on a Sunday afternoon is how I roll. So how I roll today is I'm drinking some tequila. I had a bit of Kieran pineapple premix prior. Did a bit of skincare, as I do on a Sunday afternoon. Now I've moved on to tequila, yes, onto the finer things into life. I'm also simultaneously drinking an energy drink, as I always do. If you didn't know, that's how I play. So I'm actually drinking today a different energy drink. I'm drinking a Musashi energy drink, which is full of all the good shit, beta-alanine. If you know, you know. Gives you the tingles, by the way, which is pretty good. Just expand your mind on that one. Amino acids, B vitamins, zero sugar. That's right. I don't drink full strength. I drink zero sugar shit. It's lemonade flavour. It's apparently titled a supplement food, which I'm just reading off the back of the can. So apparently, if I want to live a full life, I can drink Musashi. I can't even say it. Musashi is a full supplement food drink, apparently. I call bullshit on that one. But anyway, it's very tasty. It's giving me energy, and that's how I roll. So let's do some admin, shall we? Let me do some motherfucking admin. It has been an interesting week. Has it been a fruitful week? Yeah, it actually has. It has been a week of ups and downs. I'm not going to bullshit you. I've had some reflection. As always, being an Aquarius, I don't know if I'm an INFJ, I don't know. All of the above, who cares? What I do know is there's been some reflection time. Come up with some, I think. No, I have. I have a direction. I've always had one, but it's more about cementing that direction, okay? I've had some really, shall we say, excellent, informative, highlighting, caring conversations with people that I care about. So that's been fantastic this week. I really appreciated and needed that. And off the back of that, yeah, I woke up yesterday morning in tears. And you know what? They weren't sad, woo-woo, woe is me tears. They were actually happy tears. So, yeah, I'm in a good place. Come up with some decisions on where I want to move more directionally, as in they're a bit firmer, not so loose in what I want to do. And, yeah, I'm pumped for that. So a lot of that is around my work and in reference to the direction of this podcast. As you know, this is it for me. So, yeah, I don't know how to, what could I use? It's all streams ahead. I don't know. Is that the word I want to use? Or words I want to use? I don't know. I have a direction. I'm moving forward. Things are falling into place. And, yeah, just as a quick, I know, tea dangler. Is that a thing? I don't know. A teaser. I think that's probably better. I am going to Japan in November. Truly looking forward to it. Going to do a shit ton of podcasts over there. Going to step out of my comfort zone. I'm fully pumped, mate. Yeah, it's on like Donkey Kong. So, yeah, that's it. So, yeah, trying to, I don't know, create more direction on where I want to go with my podcast, because not that I haven't acknowledged, but I am really doubling down, focusing on where I want to take this podcast moving forward and what it means to me in my life and what it brings to my life. So there's that. Had some great conversations at work and where I'll need to go or or where I want to go in work. So that's been, calming and informative, and I'm in a good place with that. Just had a private conversation with someone as well, which was really great. Good place outside of work, which is the most important thing. Went to Louis Vuitton. I'm like, why am I not starting with this? Went to Louis Vuitton in person, motherfucker. Yeah, I have to dedicate a whole podcast to that, so I'm just separate because it's warranted. Yes, I am aware that I still haven't done the Bali one, so just calm your farm. But yeah, I went to Louis Vuitton. So let's talk about that quickly first. I won't give it too much away, but yeah, it was interesting is the word that comes to mind, and I will explain it, my reasoning as why I use that word as an explanation or overarching word to explain my visit to the Louis Vuitton store in George Street in Sydney. Super pumped to go, had a dedicated appointment. It was on Wednesday of the week that was this week. And yes, you may recall, if you listen to this podcast on a regular basis, that I said to you in my podcast titled The Makeup Meltdown, the Louis Vuitton edition or the LV edition, how exorbitant the price, yes, thank you, how exorbitant the price of the Louis Vuitton La Beauté Louis Vuitton new makeup range was. Yep, I bought a lipstick. You would be, Amanda, have you lost your mind? No, I haven't. Look, I'm open to the possibilities, okay? Always am. Yes, it is and it was because I paid for it. Fucking expensive for one lipstick. I wore it yesterday. I played with some makeup. I'll be honest here, I had a little bit too much to drink, so I was drinking and playing with makeup. Sometimes that's, it is the thing for me. I love, may it be Saturday, may it be Sunday, may it be both, where it didn't happen today, by the way. Yesterday that I played with some makeup, I thought I'd go fucking hard in the sense of let's play with some expensive makeup that I own. May that be my La Prairie foundation. It's fucking expensive. Look it up if you don't know. Pat McGrath eyeshadow palette, Sublimage. Is it? No, Sublime? Sublimage. I don't know. Don't think that's what it's called. The Sublime. Yes, I think that's what it's called. I'll link it in the description. Anyway, it's an oldie but a goodie. It's one of her earlier Mothership palettes. When I bought that palette, can I say to you how honoured's the word that comes to mind. I'm so excited to actually purchase an OG Mothership palette from Pat McGrath, Dame Pat McGrath, by the way, which ties into Louis Vuitton because she is the collaborator with Louis Vuitton for the La Beauté Louis Vuitton makeup release. If you didn't know, now you know. And yes, so I brought out the good shit. Yes, I probably drank too much yesterday, too fast, too furious. And by the time I got to the end of it, I finally, because I swatched the lipstick in store and there was no opportunity to put it on my face at the time, and that was absolutely okay, and I will explain that in the podcast that I'll release. It was where I just needed to give it a moment. I probably rushed it. I rushed it a little bit yesterday afternoon because not that in the sense I was rushing, in the sense that I probably had too many drinks and didn't enjoy the experience as much. But I will say to you, hand on heart, number one, far exceeds any Pat McGrath matte foundation, matte lipstick that she ever created. Not the same at all. You cannot compare them. The end. Number two, there is a slight scent that I'll have to actually explore it tomorrow when I wear it tomorrow, when I haven't been drinking, that I really actually enjoy, which is interesting. And C, it's actually a phenomenal formula. So I want to experience just, without the enhancement of alcohol, shall we say, or any other substances. So, yeah, there's that. So I will do that tomorrow, and I will do a dedicated podcast about my experience with going to an appointment with a Louis Vuitton sales assistant, a dedicated sales assistant, buying La Bouteille Louis Vuitton, my whole experience in the George Street Louis Vuitton store, and then finally purchasing, and yes, I only purchased one lipstick because they're fucking dear, all right? I did tell you in my last podcast how expensive they are. The same price as one of the other most expensive. Well, they're actually the same, or I think Louis Vuitton might be $10 dearer than the La Rue Chanel 31. If you know, you know. I will link both in the description of this podcast if you're interested, but let's just say I loved it. If I was rich as fuck, I would probably buy more of the lipsticks. And I'm not just saying that because I'm fancy smancy and I'm an uptight bitch. I'm not. That needs lipstick to, I don't know, cement her status. No, I am saying to you that the experience of the lipstick itself being a matte lipstick, and if you know, it's really good. It's not Pat McGrath. It's way elevated. It's really nice. I have not thus far watched a video where someone has actually explained not only the scent, but the sensorial feeling of the matte lipstick, not the satin, not the LV rouge that everyone seems to be going wah-wah about, the satin colour that's like a dark berry. I'm talking about a bright red, matte, glorious lipstick that I wore yesterday. Took some photos. If you're interested, you can see a photo on my personal page, the _1_Amanda, linked with my tequila page. So anyway, moving on. That's not what I want to talk about in its entirety today. I want to talk about Apophenia. And how did I get to that? Okay, so the other day, 2 days ago, my husband sent me a list in a message, in Messenger, the platform, about, top 20 words, or was it 50? I think it was 20. Top 20 words that you've never heard before, okay? There were some crackers in there, words that I absolutely love. If you didn't know, that was my computer just making noises. I'm going to have a quick sip of my drink, by the way. Let me just put on some music for you while I do that. Thunder, lightning, all that shit. Yes, my husband sent me a list. He knows as much as I know that he knows we're both very similar in this way. We love fancy smancy words. We love the art of communication. We love highly descriptive, I wouldn't say rare because they're not rare. It's just that a communication style that a lot of people just don't use anymore. The art of words, descriptive words, nouns, I don't know, I'm just getting lost in it all. But let's just say he knows me well, that's why we're married, that I do love the art of communication, and he sent me this list. So it had some really good ones that I'm aware of. I won't go through them today. But there was one word that I've actually never heard before. And I'm like, okay, what the fuck is that? And then it basically led me down a rabbit hole and what I actually want to talk about today. So the topic of discussion is apophenia today. So I'm going to actually quickly stop. I'm at 21 minutes. So if you need to grab yourself a drink, do so now. Grab a drink, grab a snack, settle in. If you're walking, you probably can't do that unless you've just got water. Go girl or boy. If you're at home and you're listening to this podcast or driving the car, yeah, if you need something, settle in. Just let's talk about apophenia. What is apophenia? So that's the word that was on the list. And I'm like, what the fuck's that? What is that word? And I'm like, who is saying this? Where is this coming from? And when I actually had an understanding about it, I'm like, this is the reason why he gave me this list. He didn't know that, of course. But this is the reason why this list was sent to me. This is the reason why I need to do this podcast today, because I was kind of like, the direction I was going to be very different. And then I'm going to propose to you my theory on apophenia, which is very different to the actual, discussion, scientific meaning that, if I was to say, is written in historical, medical, what's the word I'm looking for? I don't know. Not theories, references. No, I'll come up with something. But anyway, I'm going to say or give the explanation as per, you know what, a Google explanation. And then I'm going to then go a little bit deeper today into what I would say to you is my own personal experiences around apophenia, and then I'm actually going to propose an idea to you which aligns to something that I am very aligned to and studying and trying to understand, because it absolutely has got a fucking grip on my soul, which is quantum entanglement. So let's talk about that today. First of all, let's just have a quick little break, shall we? Let me just play some music for you and just relax. Have a quick drink. I don't know if you're listening on to this podcast in your car, then yeah, just relax for a second. We'll get back in a second. Okay, that's enough of that. Sorry, that was probably really loud, and the segue into that music was shit. Putting the hand up, all right? Apophenia. Let's just get into it. We just have to get into it. Because if you're driving your car and you've gone through the set of red lights and you're moving forward, you'd be like, hurry the fuck up, Amanda. I hear you, bitch. So let's go. Apophenia. I'll spell it for you because it's a word that's very strange when you actually see it written and you'd be like, how do you pronounce it? So apophenia is spelled Apophenia. Apophenia is the human tendency to find meaningful connections or patterns in random, unrelated data or events. While it's this is according to Google, by the way, while it's a normal cognitive bias that can be helpful for survival by allowing us to detect threats or food, it can also lead to superstitions, and in extreme cases, contribute to delusions, particularly in conditions like schizophrenia. So I read that yesterday. I'm like, okay. By the way, I'm not pre-schizophrenic, just so you know. Yet I will say to you that I very much understand the tendency or the cognitive behavioural alignment. I know that's probably not the words I want to use, but that's a quick explanation or synopsis around apophenia, because this actually is something that I will acknowledge that I understand very well. I will give examples in my life where I can say to you, yes, I do see faces as in a pattern to, in random objects. I mean, a good example where people, if you want to talk in a broader sense, apophenia, where people or persons will see the face in the moon. Okay? There is no face in the moon. Okay? Yeah, I don't know if there is. No. There's not. There is no face in the moon. Okay? But yet I will propose to you that not only myself, but a lot of people, when they look at the moon in its different phases, and especially when it's full, they'll see a face in the moon. There is no motherfucking face in the moon, but it is what we term a psychological cognitive glitch in the system where your brain is trying to interpret or line something. Therefore, it will see a face or in an object or an item. May it be that you're currently under stress. May it be that you're just trying to understand the object itself. That's my understanding of it. I want to propose to you that, or not I want to say to you, I'm not a psychologist or psychiatrist. I have very limited medical background. I was a nurse, as in I studied nursing, so Bachelor of Nursing. I'm not a medical professional right now, okay? So I will say to you that take this as in someone who can give you very good examples of the phenomenon. It's not even a phenomenon, of the cognitive behaviour of apophenia in a human being. And then I'm going to lead into my proposal in reference to apophenia and quantum entanglement. So, yeah, if you're interested and you want to play along and listen to that, then let's go. Yep. That was my Smashpad Rode Procaster 2. Yep. No, Rode is not sponsoring me yet. A girl could dream. And maybe I don't want to dream with them. Anyway, let's just get into it a bit more, shall we? Apophenia. Okay, so like I said, my husband sent me a list of words that were really intriguing, dynamic, words that we just don't use enough of, shall we say. Apophenia, I don't think it was apophenia, it was prior to that. Pareidolia is the word that actually was on the list. Pareidolia is the tendency to perceive meaningful patterns, especially in faces, in random or ambiguous stimuli. Clouds, wood grain, shadows. So I'd say to you that we've all done this. If you haven't, I don't know who you are. Let's take the example of a cloud, okay, where you're looking, you're laying down on the beautiful, crisp, just mowed grass, shall we say. Let me paint a picture for you. It's a warm summer day, okay. It's not too hot, but it's hot, all right. You're in your swimmers because you've just got out in the pool. You've just gotten out of your pool, okay. The water is still beating on your skin. You lay down on the grass on your towel and you look up into the sky. And the sky is beautiful, all right? It's a clear, golden, crisp day, okay? The sun's beaming, the sky is blue. There's a little slither, a little assortment, a little, wash of clouds, and you look up at the clouds and you're pondering your life, and then you see, I can't think of a cloud formation. My father will kill me. But anyway, you see a face in the cloud. You see, a pair of rabbits in the cloud, or you see a little girl on a bike on a cloud. You see a face that you would interpret as God in the cloud. Pareidolia. That is it. That is the explanation of pareidolia. Perceiving meaningful patterns in just familiar objects, especially faces. Let's go. I'm actually going to stop here because my computer is about to die. So give me 1 second. And then I'll come back to you because I don't want that to happen. Just enough time. Hi, I'm back. Just enough time to grab a drink, grab a quick snack, put on my little slippies and get back into it. There you know, behind the scenes in real time. Anyway, Apophenia. So like I said, my husband sent me a list of words. I do need to step back a bit and premise this clearer that it was pareidolia was the word that was on the list of the 20 words that, interesting words. And we just talked about it. So seeing patterns in things, so especially faces, and that's what leads me into apophenia. Apophenia. Let me pronounce it correctly. And I want to talk about it today because then I'm like, what the hell is pareidolia? And then when I actually read the explanation of what that was, I was like, okay. And then straight away it went to schizophrenia. Okay. I'm like, really? So now I'm schizophrenic? No, I'm not schizophrenic in any way, shape or form. But I will say to you that, like most people, I would say to you, I'll propose that there is many people, like the example I gave where, you're in the backyard, you've just had a swim and it's a glorious day, you look up at the clouds and you see something in the clouds. May it be a face, may it be some little babies, may it be a picture of a bicycle, may it be a picture of a love heart. That is what I'm talking about, but I'm actually going to go a little bit deeper and I'm going to talk about apophenia. And why I talk about this, because straight away I can give you an example, a very clear example that I have experienced myself, and then I'm actually going to go further. So again, apophenia is the broader cognitive tendency to perceive meaningful connections or patterns in random or unrelated data. Pareidolia, faces in clouds, the man in the moon is actually a subset of apophenia. So when you see a face in the unfamiliar, whether it's, you see a face in a tree or the shadows or even static noise, it's an expression of apophenia. The mind trying to extract meaning, familiarity, or a story where there is none objectively. Okay, so what it's saying is this is a cognitive behavioral process that your mind is trying to understand something and it will create the image. And to you, it's a familiar image, like a face. Therefore, you then connect with that and then you have a greater understanding. That's my understanding of it. Like I just mentioned before, I'm not a psychologist or psychiatrist. I do have medical training, but I don't practice as a nurse. So there you go. That is what I'm saying to you. I'm not a medical professional right now. Therefore, this is my opinion, and these are the opinions that I'm talking about today. So, yeah, don't get it twisted, okay? Especially then when I move into what I propose apophenia actually is or could be. So why does it happen? Like, you'd be like, why? You're just living your best life and, I don't know, you're out for a walk and you're looking at the trees and you see a face in the tree. Some people, you might panic. I would say to you, most people, if I was to hazard a guess, would be very intrigued as to why they're looking at a tree and it looks like there's a face in the tree. I don't know, they might think it's an alien. Or they might just be curious and open-minded to go, that's interesting, and just, walk away, keep walking. But why does it happen? Our brain evolved to be pattern-seeking machines. True that. Missing a predator's face in the grass could be fatal. No shit, Sherlock. But mistaking your shadow for a face had no cost. Let's unpack that for a second. So our brains are wired, obviously, to interpret if there could be something that could be, that leads into fight or flight, doesn't it? Where your brain just, is very driven to understand its surroundings. And if it thinks that it's, you might be under attack or, you're not as safe as you think you are, then your brain, has the ability to go, well, there's a predator there or there's not a predator there. So it's a neurological function. The brain's prediction systems overfit, meaning we can connect dots that don't actually belong together. Psychological comfort in the unfamiliarity, that's a big word, the mind creates meaning, almost as if it's refusing to accept randomness. Let me repeat that because that's where I'm going to lead into. In the unfamiliarity, I can't say that word very well, whatever. The mind, this is the most important bit, the mind creates meaning almost as if it's refusing to accept randomness. Picture you're on the ground, in the grass, you've just jumped out of the pool like I was just saying. There is water still beating on your skin. You've had a great swim. It's warm, okay? You look up the sky. It's just, as you lay out on your towel, you look up and you see the clouds. And you see some baby rabbits in the clouds. What is that? There's no baby rabbits there, by the way. But you see the baby rabbits. Your mind is, projecting, cognitively creating the image of baby rabbits in the fucking cloud, okay? There's many reasons for that, but your brain is trying to catch up, interpret, understand for whatever reason. And I will then give it a good example as to then why your brain might be doing that. Okay? But apophenia is often seen as error in science. It can also be viewed as human imagination at work. Let me repeat that. Seen as an error in science, in scientific forms or understanding, but it can also be viewed as human imagination at work. It could be. Let's go back to that image. You've just had a great day. You're in the sun. Okay, you're lying on your towel. You've got beads of water on you. I don't know, you might have been in the sun too long. You look up at the clouds and you just feeling yourself, okay? You feel present. You feel open. You feel peaceful. You look up at the clouds and you see the baby rabbits. Human imagination at work. Just think about that for a second. Faces in the unfamiliar become a metaphor for projecting self, community, or spirit into the unknown. It aligns with recurring themes of tethering, resonance, and finding echoes. Because even when data is noise, we insist on weaving story from it. Let me talk about what I want to talk about, and then I'll move forward into quantum entanglement and what I propose. A long time ago, and when I really think about it, I think I've done this for a long time. It comes back to, that cognitive behavior of seeing or trying to understand the patterns in everything your mind sees. Visually or even not even visually. Let's say both, okay? May I say to you that the first time I really, truly acknowledge this is something that I do a lot, as in I particularly see faces and things, okay? I want to premise this. I'm not schizophrenic. Let's just not. Okay, let's not go there. I will say to you that the first time I really will acknowledge this as something that I was then very aware of, and perhaps this was then a catalyst, shall we say, to now I can say to you, I will often see faces in things. My idea around why that is happening is now shifted, but I will tell you why it was before. Okay. I have talked about on this podcast previously where I did have, I don't know, the easy way to describe it is complete breakdown, to the point of being pretty much catatonic. There's a lot of things happening. I won't go with the whole story again, but let's just say that's it. I was in a very interesting place and mentally, and there was a period of time where I was not only self-harming, I was also simultaneously, and it was very clear to me right now speaking about it out loud, that I'd see faces and things. In particular, I would see faces in the carpet. Now, this might sound now you'd be like, Amanda, you've gone. No. Yes, I was in a very major depressive state, may I say. I was, like I said, at the point of when I did move into, but at that point when I was seeing faces, I wasn't catatonic, but I was very close to, okay, where in a very deep depressive mood, I would sit there trying to understand what I was feeling, okay? And I couldn't. I couldn't understand how I felt because I was in a very deep depression at the time. And my mind was honestly trying and just keep up and trying to soothe itself and trying just to keep in the present, shall we say, because at the time, I was a mother, and I still am, but I was a mother of 3 children, and it was where my mind is like, fuck, what? Fuck. And therefore, when I was in that state of deep depression, I would sit there at times, and I'm trying to evaluate and trying to, create the synapses in my mind to then have conversations. And this is the thing, I wasn't even having real conversations anymore, to be honest. And I would look at the carpet and I would see faces in the carpet and they would talk to me. And you would be like, what? Now, they're seeing faces and then there's faces talking to you. So like I'm saying, major depression here. But I would see the face in the carpet. I don't know. It wasn't a particular pattern. The carpet wasn't in a particular way that it led towards having faces. It didn't have faces in the carpet. I saw a face in the carpet. It was only small, but I would see a face in the carpet. And it wasn't disturbing. It wasn't uncomfortable. It was actually calming. It didn't make me feel – it made me feel weird because I'm like I said, it was clear face, all right? I don't know how else to describe it. It was very clear, yet I didn't feel I felt a sense of uncomfortableness, but I didn't at the same time feel uncomfortable. I wasn't scared or anxious, but obviously, at that point of time in my life, I was at a very emotional place, shall we say, and my brain was just trying to play catch up. So this is the thing. That's really when I think about Apophenia and I think about my real first, acknowledgement is probably the word that comes to mind in regards to this psychological construct that, there was a particular time, and I remember and I still clear as day can remember times where I would be sitting there and, there was times under extreme, now on reflection, extreme emotional distress, as in prior to cutting myself, that I would see a face in an object, and clearly it was my brain trying to, perhaps soothe me. Could I say? Could it be that my brain was trying to say you're not alone in this and how you're feeling? It was not an image of someone that I would recognize as a person or a human being. It was just a face. I would look at the carpet and I would see a face. I don't know how else to describe it. It wasn't a big face. It was a small face, probably the size of maybe to give more clarification, probably the size of a 50-cent piece, where I'd look at the carpet and I would be staring at it, probably because my mind was just trying to center itself, and I would see a face and the face would talk to me. And, there's that whole thing. Now, I would say to you that I acknowledge very clearly that at that time I was under very deep emotional distress, okay? I was suffering deep, major depression and anxiety at the time. Like I said, even to the point of being catatonic. So this is the thing which led into that, okay? So this is the thing. I was under very emotional distress. But for me, talking about this today is where I want to say to you, I can look back on that, and that really was a time where it more came into, okay, this is a thing, right? I acknowledge this. Clearly, it was associated with a high level of cognitive distress. I will now move far forward, okay, to today, where I can, and you mightn't be this kind of person, but I see patterns in things, okay? May it be I see patterns in a document. Once I know what the pattern I'm looking for is, I see it very clearly and I can pick it up clearly. It's a skill. If I was to say to you, I can see a pattern on the ground, okay? may I say to you that when it then leads to apophenia and seeing faces and things, I do that today. I'm not in any way, shape or form in the level of mental distress that I was in the example that I was giving just then, which was probably without, let's just in air brackets 20 years ago, that I do see faces and things. I will often see a face in the car, still in the car. I don't know what it's about, the carpet. There probably is a reason. In the carpet, and I will talk about that in a second. I will say to you, I see a face in the moon. I'm not going to lie. If the moon is full, I see a face. Even if the moon isn't half, is half, whatever that is, half moon, I see a face. If I was to say to you that I will see a face in many objects, okay, you could then surmise that depending on the time of day and the time of my life and the time of my mental state, that perhaps I see a face in air brackets because, again, I just need my mental cognitive synapses need something familiar to try and calm itself or align itself to equilibrium, or what my brain would deem equilibrium. I don't know. I would then propose to you it's more than that. Okay, and I'm going to talk about that, what I'm proposing. To this day, I will often see something in something else, okay? May it be in a document or documents that I'm viewing and I can see a pattern, I can see it quickly, acknowledge it, and then I see it all the time. May it be a particular word or a particular number where I hands on heart, I'm fucking hopeless at mathematics. Did general mathematics all throughout high school. I wish my brain was more designed to understand the mathematical realm better, because physics is something I am very intrigued in, and mathematics is very much aligned to that. Therefore, my brain struggles with that. I will say to you that I do see patterns very, not easily, but if I let myself, it's not even about relaxing even, I just do. It's how my brain works. And it is something that I will acknowledge that I will often in a tree or on the carpet or just, I don't know, in a document or in the sky or in the environment, wherever, I will see a face. It is what it is. And what I want to propose to you today, that it's just not only, and I understand based on where I just reported on where I was at a certain time and place in my life under very deep emotional distress, where I can understand the cognitive mechanics of your brain trying to interpret and create equilibrium in the brain to function, okay? Because it's like, guess what, you're a mum and you've got to function and you're basically, your brain's trying to catch up. I understand that completely. What I'm saying to you now, though, is I don't have the same parameters as I did then, and therefore I propose that what I often acknowledge visually as a face in an item, or, in the carpet, or may it be in a tree, or may it be the moon, or may it be the cloud, may it be in a piece of fabric which has a pattern on it, and I don't see just the pattern, but I will see a face in the pattern and there's no fucking face there, that I would say to you that my brain it's not just going beyond the cognitive mechanism of trying to understand and, I know, soothe itself, for the use of a better word. I would say to you, it's quantum entanglement. And now I've lost you. But I'm going to propose that now, moving into that. But first, I need a drink. Okay. What was that? No, it wasn't train. It was my Rode Procaster 2. As I had a sip of my drink. Entanglement. I've briefly discussed quantum entanglement. It is a subject matter that I am still trying to understand. But may I say to you that at my very core essence as a human being, I will understand it because it absolutely aligns with me and my vision as a human being. Don't ask me why. It just does. All right? It's interesting that my husband sent me a list of words, and it as I delved deeper, Apophenia, it was a subject that I do correlate and understand very well. And I don't think I've ever had a conversation with, a friend or my husband or anyone that I know, where I say, yeah, do you see that? Do you see a face? And they'd be like, what? I have not had those types of conversations. And no, I'm not mentally unsound either. I would say to you, I just see the pattern of things, the patterns in things. May it be a document, may it be a table, may it be a carpet, may it be a tree, may it be the moon, may it be a cloud. I see patterns in a lot of things. Not necessarily, when I think pattern, the word pattern comes to mind, I'm thinking of lines as in horizontal and diagonal lines. I don't know why, but that's what I envision. No, I often will see a face in items, in a construct face in something, and I've just got used to it. And it is what it is. And reading more about this particular topic today, this is something clearly that a lot of people feel the same way that I do. It doesn't really talk about it a lot, unfortunately. And like I said, in no way, shape or form am I a medical professional, so do not in any way, shape or form think that what I'm describing today is the narrative and the only one and only narrative that is out there. It's interesting though, because it's not a conversation that I've heard a lot of in terms of apophenia, perhaps because it's just weird. I don't know. But to say that a lot of people I would say to you or premise to you that could honestly say, the clouds are looking into the clouds, or the moon being another good example where they see something in the clouds and there's nothing in the fucking clouds. It's their brain interpreting an image, a cognitive image. It's a synapse that, for whatever reason, it's creating an image for them to placate themselves, inspire, calm, I would say to you. I would hazard a guess without being a psychologist or psychiatrist. I'd say to you that it's more often a sense of our brain trying to create a sense of connectiveness to then calm itself, depending on your current mental state. I would say to you and challenge you, not that that's bullshit in any way, shape or form, because I do understand that, because like I said, going back to what I was talking about, when I was at that point in my life, in particular, that one particular point, and there's been a couple in my life, at that particular point in my life, I was under extreme emotional, psychological distress. Therefore, my brain was trying to shorting out, and was trying to create some alignment to try and just get through the day. The end. It was not doing a very good job. It tried, though. It tried its very best until human intervention came into play, and it got there in the end. Thank fuck for that. But that's the thing. I can say to you now, I'm not in that place. So therefore, why do I still easily, comfortably, can hand on heart say to you, I will see patterns of faces in things. And no, I'm not I'm not schizophrenic. So this is the thing, that this is clearly a broad conversation, but it's something where I was like, straight away when I went down the rabbit hole that I want to talk about today, it really does, for me, align with one of the theories of quantum entanglement and the entanglement parallel. It really does. I mean, quantum entanglement, it's correlated beyond classical explanation. Not because, it is, but because it shares a state. I don't know, it's your consciousness. Now we're going deep. Your consciousness is entangled with your environment, okay? Therefore, it produces correlations, faces, voices. We could go there. That was another thing I've experienced, where it's trying to be objective and trying to be measurable. If I was to say to you it's not dissonance, but resonance. What if I proposed to you that, let's go to that picture that I proposed earlier, that you just jumped out of the pool. It's a glorious sunny day. Let's say your mindset or your psychological being at that present time is in a state of equilibrium, okay? Neither happy nor sad or anything else. It just is. Quiddity, okay? You lay down on your towel on the grass, it's green, you look up at the sky and you see the clouds and you see the rabbits. What if I was to propose to you that the clouds are trying to speak to you, okay? Through the idea of quantum entanglement, that everything has energy, okay, as a physical state. What if I was to propose to you, for whatever reason, the cloud was trying to talk to you? In particular, you saw a rabbit, okay? The rabbit could be a symbol for, I don't know. Well, does it have to be symbolic? This is the thing. Could it be because it's that far advanced that your brain has to interpret it as an item that's, aligned to your psyche to then make it more digestible, shall we say? Could it be, if we just to its basis say to you, I'm proposing today that the cloud was actually speaking to you? Not verbally, clearly. It did say, hi, you bitch on the towel. It was trying to speak to you energetically. And the way it did that, it was speaking. And the only way that your brain could understand it was to then create the narrative of the rabbits, because perhaps rabbits for you were a safe, in air brackets, symbol, construct of an idea that made it easier for you to connect with, hence the cloud that was speaking to you. Mic drop. What I know. What if I was to say to you, it's not an idea. This is a thing, all right? Apophenia. Let's just say to you, if I was to say to you, it isn't a glitch, okay? It isn't your brain creating a narrative or a cognitive switch to understand. What if I was to propose to you in terms of entanglement that it was actually grammar? That it was not a cognitive dissonance, but the actual first words of a conversation between your consciousness and the environment. So therefore, seeing the rabbits in the cloud is the cloud talking back to you. What? That's what I'm saying. I don't know. But this really does intrigue me, because quantum entanglement as a source of like everything having energy, everything in flow and movement, why would it be unreasonable? And this is where it gets even more interesting. Why would it be unreasonable that nature, for example, the cloud, the tree, the moon, okay, these are not, unless we won't even go into the matrix, I think. I have thoughts and feelings about that. I'm not going there today. Could I propose to you that nature itself, okay, which is glorious. Let's give the example right now where I'm sitting in a room, if the studio, air brackets, looks out onto a view of trees. Beautiful eucalyptus trees here in Australia, in New South Wales, in Mannering Park. Now you know. And if you knew, you knew anyway, that what if I was to say to you that the trees, if you look at them and not only just, bask in their presence and hear the wind and see the colour and see the shape and all of that. Okay, that's one level. If I was to say then you're looking at the tree trunk and you see a face in the tree, and the tree, that face looks back at you, and you see a clear face, or you see a clear shape in the tree and it resonates with you, could I be completely, totally off the chain to propose that the tree itself is actually trying to connect with you and talk to you as a structure? could I be as bold to say that that's why, because we can't, it's not the wavelength between communication of, say, a tree between a human being is so, unless you're on the same wavelength, I'm sure some people would say they are, which I'd be very fascinated to know. And this is an example, because I'm not in the same wavelength of a tree, as an example, that, you know, our human brain just can't understand the communication, right? You know, trees don't speak verbally. Therefore, the way that the tree is trying to, as a construct, you know, interact with you or communicate with you is that your brain, because it is entangled in the conversation through quantum entanglement with the tree and its surrounding, in your surroundings, that for it to understand, to create the narrative of the face in the tree, or to see, I don't know, you might see an animal that in the tree. That could be another thing. I've never done that, but that would be pretty cool. Like a koala. I know you look at a tree and you're a person that often is drawn to trees, say, and you know, in the discussion around apophenia, that you often will see a particular animal in a tree. And that is your mind's construct to then basically, it's not your mind making fucking shit up. It's your mind going, mate, we're on the same wavelength here and we're talking to each other, but my mind just is not chemically or neurologically designed to have that conversation with you. Therefore, it's creating an image that makes it feel safer and more ideal to interact with you. I don't think it's unreasonable. I honestly do not think this is unreasonable, that going where some of the things that I'm seeing lately, or listening to, or trying to understand, especially around quantum physics and quantum entanglement. And like I said, I'm not a physicist or a medical professional. Therefore, this is just my personal opinion that I honestly can understand it. It doesn't seem unreasonable to me to think that a tree, as the example, because there's the verbal communication is between humans. All right, we've created language. Going back how long? I don't know exactly, but a long fucking time ago, right? We as human beings created language, and therefore we talk to each other. Sometimes good, sometimes bad. That's another conversation. Is it completely out of the realm of understanding? Trees don't have language as human beings have language. Therefore, the only way our brain can align or understand or create a narrative between an inanimate object such as a tree is to create an apophenia, which being an animal or a pattern of a face in the tree. Therefore, the tree is talking to you, and as your brain goes, well, okay, I can see the face, and therefore I'm interacting with the tree, and we're communicating with each other, and let's go beyond that, I'm talking to the fucking tree. Now you'd be like, Amanda, you've lost your mind. I don't think I have at all. I think it's actually entirely reasonable to have this conversation in reference to apophenia and why I think our brains do this. Because our brain is in entanglement. We're all energy. Everything. I'm in a room, I'm looking out at trees, I'm talking into a microphone, I have the Rode Procaster, it's a computer, a laptop in front of me. It's all energy, all right? It's all moving. There's all these particles dancing around, okay? They're all in an environment where they're solid objects, but they're all in movement. I can't see the movement. I'm not narrowing down into that, but it's all energy. Clearly, for someone like myself, I feel the energy in things very clearly, let alone the fact that I, hand on heart, will say to you that I will clearly see the face in the moon. I will clearly see in an item a face or a pattern, or even to the point of, well, actually, I will step back a step. No, I do not say, I will not, and be very clear, I do not see faces and they talk to me at this present time. That was in major depression. I will say to you, though, that I do see faces in things very clearly. They don't talk to me. I see faces. It is my brain's way of trying to interact with that thing. Clearly, I can't remember what I was talking about. No. My husband just called. I had a chat with him. Then I called him back, and now let's finish off the conversation. Yes, apophenia. Let's just, like I said, I'm proposing beyond the cognitive mechanisms that our brain uses to say that it's actually the environment itself trying to start a conversation with you. Could it be that? Could it have been that all along? That because our brains are not hardwired to understand the mechanism of, converting or, conversing. No, not converting, conversing with, a tree, as the example I'd like to use today. It creates the narrative which we would then deem apophenia to actually have a conversation, to make it easier for our pea brain to actually interpret what is just a tree trying to have a conversation with you, or a cloud, like the example that I gave of the image of the rabbits in the cloud. It's just the cloud itself trying to start or, connect with you in a conversation, because we are all energy and we are all entangled in it. Yeah, I think it's beautiful. I don't think it's unreasonable to even propose this, actually. It makes actual sense to me. I would like to converse with a tree. Yeah, I would. If, as the example of, the example of where I live now, which I just said apparently in this podcast today, which as a secret location in Australia, that I am surrounded in construct of trees in a corridor. Where I look out on my studio, there is a corridor of trees, and they're glorious. I have posted on my own personal page, being the _1_Amanda page on Instagram, images of trees that I see from my backyard. They are fucking huge eucalyptus trees. Clearly they've been there for a fucking long time. I would hazard a guess hundreds of years. I don't know actually how long, but I would say to you hundreds of years, not 100, hundreds of years. They are beautiful specimens of nature personified, in my opinion. I would love to converse with them. I'm sure they are trying to converse with me because I have an affinity to them. I feel calm in their presence. I appreciate them for what they are. I will often look at them every single motherfucking day. Yeah. I don't know why I feel like I want to cry. They are glorious in their form. May I say to you, I don't talk to them. They don't talk to me. I wish they did. I wish I had the ability to talk to trees. Honestly do. I would love to know their story because, let's be honest, a lot of trees that haven't been chopped down fucking could tell you a fucking lifetime. And some of the world that is Earth, basically. They've seen it all and they're still standing. So, yeah, it's not out of the realm of my emotional, intellectual understanding that something like a tree doesn't have some sort of mechanical voice that it's trying to entangle with you. But, you know, as a human being, we're not trees. Therefore, our way of conversating our way of conversating isn't the same as a tree conversating with another tree. Therefore, Apophenia as a construct, may I propose to you, it's just our brain trying to create the sign-ups that it needs to have those conversations. The end. It doesn't, it's an interesting theoretical construct that I proposed today, in my opinion. I don't know if you think the same way. I'd be very interested to know if anyone thinks the same way as me. I just don't know. I do understand from a medical point of view why we've created a narrative around epiphenia in line with cognitive behavioural archetypes, situations where our brain is trying to just explore and understand an emotion, therefore it creates a face in the cloud or a face in the carpet, in my example that I gave earlier, just to equilibrium the mind, in essence. I do understand that, but I honestly think it's broader than that. I think there's a time and a place for that narrative, absolutely. But why would it be completely unreasonable to think that we see the rabbit in the cloud, or we see the face in the tree or the carpet, or we see the pattern in something because that item is trying to speak to us for whatever reason? It has an affinity and it wants to spark a conversation, and it's that. And apophenia is the way to spark that conversation. The face in the item, or the pattern in the item, or the light and shade in an item, etc., is that item trying to communicate with us because it doesn't have the art of language in the form of what human beings speak, as in what we've created as language. Yeah, it doesn't. To me, it seems quite logical. I would say to you that it probably isn't. But it's not outside the realm of my understanding. I think it's quite reasonable to think that, yeah, our brains are trying to talk to the clouds. The clouds are such, we all often look to the sky for many reasons. Obviously we want to know if it's fucking going to rain or not. You know, we all want the sun. We all, it's a cloudy day. We want the clouds to go away. Certainly, we love the rain sometimes, can't wait for it, and other times, or most of the time, we've had enough of it. Yeah, that's could be another whole conversation again into the glorious nature of clouds and cloud formation, because I still remember conversations with my dad, as in my adoptive dad, father, he's not my birth father. Let's not get into semantics, but we are. He was a social science teacher and he's now passed away and many years ago. And I still recall a very interesting or many conversations around cloud formation and the cycles of nature. And he was a social science teacher and he primarily was a geography teacher, and he just loved all of that. And I yeah, it would have been now where my intellectual mind is now during this conversation. I don't think we would have ever had these kind of conversations together because he just wasn't that type of man and we didn't have that type of relationship. But I clearly see a conversation where I think we were in the Corolla. I don't know if we were in the Datsun 180B. I don't know if it was that old, but it could have been. But I think it was in high school, so it would have been the Corolla where, yeah, he was talking about clouds and the type of clouds, and he was talking about the El Nino effect. And he really did have, thinking back on it, a passionate, is that a word? I've just made it up. There's passionate, but passionate, is that a word? To his voice and how he talked about the clouds. And back then, I remember being in the car and thinking, you're a fuckwit. I didn't say that in my mind. I wouldn't even think of fuckwit being a word in my mind back then, but I just remember just like, oh, yeah, whatever, Dad. That kind of sentiment. Yeah, whatever, shut the fuck up. Yeah, righto, you old fart. Yeah. Where now I'm thinking back on that conversation we had, and he really was intrigued about clouds. I really was. As someone who studied as a teacher and someone who studied social science and geography, who taught geography mainly, he really was enamored by clouds and nature and the world. And I really, now thinking about it, never really understood that until now. So, yeah, it's interesting just right now sitting here thinking about it, because I clearly, well, not the whole conversation, but I clearly remember the feeling of thinking, he really likes this. He really is intrigued and really loves this. And I couldn't give a fuck. And now I'm like, yeah, I'll give a fuck. How many years later? So, yeah. Yeah, I'm just curious to think, does anyone else think the way that I do? I'm sure there is, because so many people on this planet in it there is actually in the dirt, but there's there is also so many living human beings on this planet we call Earth. And just thinking out loud, where there be so many, how many, I can't even explore how many, and vastness comes to mind, that would think the same way I'm thinking right now in regards to Apophenia, and thinking about that connection to an object and seeing a face or a pattern in something, and because it really just is that pattern speaking to us, or trying to speak to us and trying to align with us and trying to tell us something, teach us something, just create a sense of connection. And we miss it. We just miss it because we don't truly even beyond calling it a cognitive function, if I was, like I said, I'm proposing that it really is that object trying to speak to you, create or spark a conversation. What a beautiful thing that is. What a fucking beautiful thing that is. That, that day when you're, like I said, clear as day, you're laying on the grass and you look up and you see the rabbits and it brings a smile to your face. And that cloud is trying to start a conversation with you, and you just see a rabbit and you're like, yeah, that's kind of cute. But it really is that entanglement of the sky and the cloud and the formation trying to just personally interact with you, which is so vast and so huge and so complex, and at the same time just so fucking beautiful. Fucking beautiful, mate. This is why I'm drawn to this subject, because I can see the possibilities. I don't understand them. I wish I could narrate them in a way that, I'm getting emotional, by the way, if you haven't picked that up. I wish I could narrate them in a way that gives it justice to the gloriness, is that a word? It is. Just the sublime beautifulness of these things that we have all around us, that we just are trying to connect with us and we just miss it. And then there's a subset of people who, fortunately, like myself, do have a connection and are just trying to fucking understand it. And the people who do have a full connection, fuck, God bless for you, mate. I would love to know if you do can speak to trees. Actually speak to them. I don't think that's unreasonable. I'd really love to know. I really would. So, yeah, it's an interesting construct. I'm proposing as a theory that in psychological terms, apophenia isn't just soothing, but it's actual conversation. It's not unreality, but is reality of our environment entangled with us trying to start a motherfucking conversation. And I'm going to leave it there. I'm going to leave it there. So, love to know your thoughts. I don't know if these are the types of conversations that you can get down on, but this is, honestly, this is me at its core. So if you would like to have a conversation and expand on this idea or thesis that I'm proposing today, I'd love to hear from you. You can contact me anytime, anytime via my email address, which is info@thetequilahour.com.au. As you know, Instagram is the social place where I like to mingle, shall we say. So if you want to reach out, you can anytime via my Instagram pages being the Tequila Hour and also the _1_Amanda. Happy to hear from you. Contact me anytime. If you've got an idea that you would like to discuss around this thesis that I'm proposing today, or this idea or train of thought around apophenia, I'd love to hear it from you. If you have your ideas, if you think I'm completely whack or you have your own interpretation, I'd love to know about it, because these are the kind of conversations as a human being that fucking fill my soul, mate. So, yeah, love to hear from you. shall I say, have a great weekend. Here in Australia being the 7th, tomorrow is the 8th of September. The rare moon is an eclipse. The blood moon is happening, so I will be getting up quite early. Apparently, I will be able to see the blood moon because I think it was cloudy. I'm seeing clouds. 4 o'clock in the fucking morning. So I'm making the decision, do I stay up all night to 4 or do I go to bed and get up? An interesting proposal. But yes, considering that I do and will be working tomorrow morning being Monday, an interesting proposal, an interesting idea comes to mind. Do I stay up all night to see the full red blood moon at 4 a.m. or do I go to bed at 12, get up at 4, go to bed and then get up again? I don't know. I will tell you next time in my podcast. But anyway, take care. Follow your heart. Just go for it. That's what I'm doing. Thank you for those who do listen. And I'll catch you on the next one. See ya. Bye. Big dreams. Brain don't stop. Big dreams. Dreams.